Hi, my name is Andrew Sugars. I work for a company called wallbe in Schlangen in Germany. And today I would like to talk to you about the fundamentals of our load and charge management system. The reason we've done this is because we are going to be facing a lot of challenges in the future with e-mobility, whether at home or at the office or on holiday or even going shopping. In the future, parking will become charging. And other factors also have to be taken into account. We have the seasons. In winter when it's cold, batteries are cold. We have day and night problems. We have the demands of the customer. And we also have the electricity problems that will come along with it from the energy suppliers. So in the short form, the load and charge management is to overcome the challenges that we face using a professional and intelligent solution from wallbe. One intelligent way is using the wallbe Wrapup algorithm. But what is it? The Wrapup algorithm is pretty simple. It is basically as it sounds. It ramps up the power given to the car by the load and charge management. So you have a car charging with 6 amperes and the LCM tries to give it 1 more and the car takes it on. The LCM gives it 1 more and the car takes it on again. The car tries to give it 1 more but the car says no, it rejects it. And the LCM goes back to the 8 amps of charging and tries again with a defined space of time to see if he can give the car more power. wallbe fairness algorithm. The fairness algorithm is really as it sounds, fairness. One car is charging with 26 amps, the second car comes along and charges with 12 amps. The fairness algorithm takes over and determines the differences between the maximum current charge and the minimum charge. And then they're distributed fairly between the 2 cars. So each car at the end charges with 11 amps. Another intelligent solution from wallbe is the wallbe phase optimized charging. Phase optimized charging is used so that we don't overload the 3 phases of the power supply, so we don't overload one more than we do the other 2, or 2 and leave the 3rd one out. In the 4 charging stations that we have here, the first 3 are configured differently from each other. And the 4th one is the same as the first, and it would carry on again. So you've got the 5th one with the same as the 2nd. So we have a car coming along. He charges with 32 amps, uses L1. The second one is a 2-phase charger, charges on L2 and L3. The third car comes along, is a 3-phase charger, charges on all 3, L1, L2 and L3. So everything's evenly balanced. The 4th car comes along, and we've already used our maximum amount of amps, so the fairness algorithm comes into play and drops everyone down to 21 amps. Here we see the same again. We have our 4 charging stations. The only difference being here is that we have a prioritized vehicle at 32 amps for the boss, and we have another car comes in, 1 phase, using L2. Next car comes in, a 2-phase charger, with the well-used shared on L1 and L3. And a 4th one comes in, and the 3 cars will drop down to 16 amps, but the boss still stays at 32. Next we have the wallbe Load and Charge Management Advanced. The charge currents here are exclusively statically assigned to the respective charging point. The wallbe advance. Here we see the communication channel between the two charging points through a cable, and communication is through the back end. This is for a maximum of 2 charging points. The supply channel, very simple. Electricity comes from the energy provider, goes through the meter, and goes into the charging points. The key facts about the advance: it's a maximum of 2 charging stations. There's a direct communication between the two just using a cable, so no other additional equipment is needed. And all authorization tapes are available, whether it's with a switch, on-off switch, or an RFID card. The possibilities of configuration: static presetting, so 6, 10, 13, 16, 20 or 32 amps. And the highlights: when using a charging point, the maximum power, e.g. 22 kilowatts, is available for the charging process. So when loading 2 vehicles, the power is divided according to the presetting, for example, 2 times 11 kilowatts. Here we have an example of the advance. We have a maximum of 22 kilowatts available, and 32 amps is the fixed charging current. So one car comes along and he charges with the full maximum of 32 amps, 22 kilowatts. The second car comes along and it's shared between the both of them, and both get 11 kilowatts. The wallbe Load and Charge Management Professional is, as the name suggests, professional. A fixed defined total charge current can be used up to 100% dynamically and phase optimized. Here we see the professional, the communication channel, and the supply channel. Here we've got an example of 3 charging points, each with their own meter. And there's a little mini Linux computer that takes charge of all the charging points as if they were one. The communication between the charging points is with Modbus Ethernet, and the supply channel is exactly the same as we had before with the advance, the energy supplier, and then you've got the house meter, and then the cable to the 3 charging points, as you see here. Here we have the wallbe Load and Charge Management Professional key facts. Without going into a huge amount of detail, I will just mention some highlights. There's the fallback function. So if the Linux computer goes offline for any reason or fails to work, the charging will still continue at the minimum charge set by the customer. And looking down, the adjustable minimum charging current for each charging point can be set, typically 6 amps. So this means also that we can have priority charging points for the bosses, but we'll come on to that a little bit later. So here we see an example of the professional, a company having 5 charging points with a maximum of 32 fixed charging current to all 5 charging points. So one car can charge at 32 amps because he's by himself. If 2 cars comes along, they have to share the 32 amps, so they're charging with 16 amps each. And if 3 cars comes along, it's 10 amps each. And for the next 4th car as well, and carry on until 5 cars can share the 32 amps. Next up, we have the wallbe Load and Charge Management Enterprise. The energy supplier available current at the network transfer point can be dynamically used up to 100%. So the wallbe Load and Charge Management Enterprise. The communication channels and the supply channels are exactly the same as the professional. The only difference here being is we have an additional meter between the energy supply meter and the house. Here I have the enterprise key facts, basically the same as the professional version, only here there's a dynamic total charging power with an additional meter at the network transfer point. By the professional, we had a static amount of power being able to be used, and here it's dynamic. By the enterprise, we also have an example. Here we have 6 charging points with a maximum of 63 amperes to use. First car comes along, charges with 16 amperes. Second car comes along, charges also with 16 amperes. Third car, fourth car also with 16 amperes, and you see on the right hand side we are now full. Fifth car comes along and the fairness algorithm takes over and gives each car 12 amps to use, and so forth. So if a sixth car came along, we would be on 10 amps each. Here we have another example of the enterprise. This is a little bit different because we have a priority parking space for the boss of the company who wants the maximum power. What else? So he's allowed to charge with 22 amps and continue to use 22 amps. It doesn't matter who comes along and wants to use power. So more cars come along, they have to share the rest, 10 amps each, and Chef still gets 22 amps. And here we have the Enterprise Plus. It's the Enterprise, the only difference being is that can we use the Enterprise in more locations rather than it all being on one, in one location. With the Enterprise Plus, the communication channel and the supply channels are exactly the same as by the Enterprise. The key facts, exactly the same. The configuration possibilities, exactly the same as the Enterprise. The only difference being here by the highlights is this is a full dynamic system. The load and charge management over a number of charging points at different locations are possible. Bundle and control your charging points at different locations like a virtual power plant. Actual developments by wallbe. Load management, prioritizing, RFID authorization, static or dynamic limit value, dynamic distribution, unbalanced load rules, interfaces, logging, GUI, user management, status display history, and notifications. What's next at wallbe? We will be working on several things: central authorization, back-end connection, web server, remote access, and clustering. Thank you very much for watching this small video. If you have any more questions and would like to know more about the load and charge management, please contact us at any time. Look on the website, wallbe.de. Our telephone number is there. Just give us a call. Thank you very much.